We begin our brief tour through Brittany at Saint-Malo, that attractive city on the English Channel. The walls, which date chiefly from the 16th century, completely and are today in perfect preservation. A leisurely circuit around their tops offers splendid views of the bay and harbour. The bay is dotted with small fortified islands. The Grand Bay, where Chateaubriand is buried, becomes part of the tide. Saint-Malo, by the way, is remarkable for the great height of the tide. In the spring and autumn, it rises and falls almost 50 feet. On the broad white sand at the base of the walls are many brilliant umbrellas and gaily colored tents, where the lucky Malouins and favored visitors bask in the sunshine and enjoy some of the finest bathing on the continent. Saint-Malo is one of the oldest French seaports, but it has not always been only a commercial port, for in the 17th century it was the home of many privateers and corsairs. About 13 miles inland, situated high above the river Rance, is Dinan, another walled town. The outstanding point of interest is the old castle. The huge oval keep was the residence of the Duchess, Anne of Brittany, whom we recall was also twice Queen of France. Another castle, the finest structure of its kind in Brittany, is that of the Rohans at Josselin. It has been in the same family since the year 1400. The present owner, a young man in his early 20s, resides in it, and although one of the wealthiest landowners of France, permits visitors several days a week. Very attractive. Farm areas and meadows are generally divided into small fields by what look to us to be hedges, but which are really walls of stone covered with turf. At certain seasons they are brilliant with wildflowers. At others they are covered only with shrubs and small bushes. Often as we drive along the roads, the view is entirely shut off by the flowers and shrubs which grow from these unusual fences. The farmhouses are always neat and inviting. No matter how poor the farmer or peasant may be, his home presents an attractive picture to the traveler. Most of the roofs are made of slate or stone, but often a thatch one adds to the quaintness of the scene. Among the unusual attractions of Brittany are the Calvaries, stone representations of the crucifixions erected in the open. The finest is adjacent to the church at Plougastel. It is embellished with 200 figures representing the Passion and Resurrection. Erected in the year 1602, after an outbreak of plague, it has for over 300 years remained a place of reverence. Brittany possesses the finest collection of megalithic monuments in the world, the dolmens of Carnac. These great stones are a mystery, for history tells us nothing about them, from where they came, or how they were transported and erected. Many theories have been advanced regarding their origin. One, that they mark the burial ground of soldiers slain in some great forgotten battle. Another, that they were erected to protect the tents of a Roman army. Still another, that they were arranged to indicate the direction of sunrise at the solstices and equinox, and to fix the periods for ceremonies of an ancient solar worship. Local tradition is somewhat more romantic. Children welcome visitors and recite the legend that the alignments are really hordes of pagan warriors miraculously turned to stone in the act of pursuing St. Cornelius and driving him from Brittany's hospitable shores. The Bretons are very pious and during the year have many religious festivals. The most interesting ceremony, called a pardon, is a celebration held at various shrines and churches at different times, when pilgrims come to pay their devotions and give offerings to local saints. St. Anne d'Auray is the most famous pilgrim resort in Brittany. According to legend, St. Anne, mother of the Virgin, appeared to a peasant in the year 1623 and commanded him to build a chapel where she said one had stood some 100 years before. 2 years later, a statue was dug up on the spot indicated, and in 1645, a church and convent were built. A fragment of the statue, which was all but destroyed during the Revolution, is preserved within the basilica. From St. Anne d'Auray, we make our way to Concarneau, one of the chief fishing ports of the country, and the favorite Brittany rendezvous of artists. We happen to be here while the fishing fleet is at sea. When it returns, many of the women will be occupied with sardine tinning, but now they have a chance to catch up with their family duties. Most of the women of Brittany still wear head coverings of lace or little caps of lace and ribbon. These coverings and caps are called coiffes, C-O-I-F-F-E-S, coiffes. And as we travel through the country, we see many of them. Each locality has a distinctive shape and size, and it is easy to tell the district from which a woman comes by the headdress she wears. In the town of Concarneau, we chance upon a wedding celebration in the square. Such festivities generally last from one morning until the small hours of the next, with much merriment and dancing. The groom is the fashionably attired gentleman with a cigarette. The bride, as usual, is in white. The picturesque old costumes of the Breton folk are still the everyday dress of the majority of the people, and their quaintness adds greatly to our enjoyment of the country. Here we find quite a different type of coif. Across the square, a group of interesting onlookers watch a young woodcarver as he makes copies of old wooden saints from the cathedral. It is evident that he has taken amusing liberties with some, especially St. Peter, who tempts us greatly to add him to our collection of souvenirs. Pont-l'Abbé is the chief town of one of the most characteristic races of Brittany, the Bigouden. The name means bizarre headdress of the women, and no better name could be given to these people whose headdresses are certainly the strangest in all the country. Nothing, not even hard work at the washtub, seems to disarrange the tall lace coif. These women even wear a double headdress, for though we don't see it, under the tall coif, a small bonnet holds the hair in place. Hard on the clothes, but perhaps harder on the dirt. It may get the clothes clean, but just how long do you think nice silk underthings would last? Never too young to lend a hand. She thinks it's play now, but wait until she's old enough to wear a coif. From Pont-l'Abbé, we make our way along a rugged coast to Douarnenez, the most important sardine fishing port in France. The delightful little town of whitewashed houses is situated on the bay of Douarnenez. It is said there are more than 800 vessels here engaged in fishing, most of them for sardines, but some for tuna and mackerel, and still others which go farther afield for larger and more valuable catches. Every year, Breton seamen sail small ships such as these to Iceland, and even across the Atlantic to the Grand Banks of Newfoundland. Many Bretons still wear the wooden shoe called sabot, a strong, hard shoe for a sturdy, vigorous race. Breton sailors have followed and conquered the sea for centuries, not only as fishermen and merchantmen, but also as corsairs and explorers. Today they are among the greatest seamen of the globe and are found wherever ships, whether French or foreign, sail. From this sturdy race come the sailors who make up almost 100% of the crews of French ships. With white sails outlined against the sky, the fleet goes forth to sea, and we are reminded of the Iceland fisherman, Pierre Loti's immortal classic of Brittany's Men of the Sea.